Welcome to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. Glad you decided to join us again this week. Dr. Ann Bauman our week. You know, and sometimes you feel like, yeah, you're only as good as our guest. Dr. Bauman's about as good as it gets.
It makes our show a lot better when we have a good guest. And Dr. Bauman is great. She's going to come talk to us about the Heart Walk and what's going on about heart health in Oklahoma, as well as other health issues. She's always interesting.
Every time she's a guest, I leave the show feeling a little bit smarter. She will teach you something. A very bright woman and able to articulate the latest in medicine, and there's always something to learn when Ann Bauman's our guest, as is the case today. We'll be right back.
A greener planet, cleaner air, a healthy economy, national security, a smaller deficit and a stronger dollar, green jobs, better jobs, energy independence, warmth and light and transportation. These are the reasons Chesapeake champions natural gas every day.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
And welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Very pleased to have back a very familiar face and a friendly face to The Verdict, Ann Bauman. Dr. Bauman did her medical work, or got her medical degree at Wayne State University. Then we captured her down here in Oklahoma at Integris in 1991, and she is still the medical director for Women's Health and Community Relations. She is an author, a speaker, a TV personality, and her most recent book is called Fight Fatigue. She is actively involved in the American Heart Association and our local Heart Association activities, and we're sure pleased you join us for your 10th visit to The Verdict.
Boy, thank you so much for having me. Always fun to come back.
Welcome back, and you want to talk about the Heart Walk right up front. What is that all about?
April 17th is the American Heart Association Oklahoma City Heart Walk, and we do this every year. We get anywhere between 8,000 and 10,000 people out at the ballpark. A beautiful spring day, Saturday morning, and it's a 3-mile walk, 1 mile for other people, and what it is it's a fundraiser to raise funds for the American Heart Association.
How are funds raised by people walking?
There are a number of ways to do it. Certainly people can make donations, but what we have are teams, different in the different corporations, different neighborhoods, families get together and form a team, and then they find people in their friends and family to sponsor them and make donations for their walk, and that's how we raise funds. And we hope to raise over $900,000 this year.
And at the same time, you're going to be raising awareness, and I know that's one of the things that you've been trying to do for many, many years.
Oh, it's just critical, and I know you have been too, with the obesity problem and lack of exercise. We're just having such problems with heart disease and stroke. We are always number 1, 2, or 3 in heart disease and stroke in this country, and so we have to make a difference.
Now, the Heart Association has some local representatives here that are quite active in putting the Heart Walk together and can answer questions. I guess at the end of the show, Mick, you'll give a website that will direct people to them.
Yes.
But I know last year there was a good bit of activity around the Heart Walk. How did it turn out?
Yeah, last year's Heart Walk was very good. I think we had 10,000 people at the ballpark, and we did raise just about $900,000. So we want to do a little more this year.
My goodness,
I know.
That's very successful.
Isn't that amazing? And that's actually a little lower than we did before the recession hit us. So we're trying, as everyone is, trying to come back from that. It's an incredible adventure.
Wow, $900,000 off of something that's healthy to begin with. That's quite an accomplishment.
Oh, it really is. And the neat thing about the Heart Association, what I always tell people is the Heart Association is an excellent steward of the monies given. It goes for research, it goes for programs. In fact, we get over $2 million back to Oklahoma for research in our area. So we're getting back from the American Heart Association as we try to figure out this dreadful disease.
Well, what can you tell of somebody that's perhaps not very active and should they participate or not participate in the Heart Walk? I mean, what kind of fears can you alleviate?
Well, I'll tell you, we have people of all ages just out there, from babies in strollers to people in their 80s. And lots of people bring their animals along. So I always say check with your doctor, but we do have a 1-mile run for the survivors and people who want to go, or walk, excuse me, for the people who want to go a little less of a distance. And so you can always just start. It's always so beautiful out there in April, and it's right downtown. We go around the areas, and it's lots of fun.
What sorts of issues are Oklahoma women facing as they see these heart disease numbers?
Oh boy, I'll tell you, it's women and it's also men. We just have such a problem with obesity, as I know you're aware of, such a problem with sedentary lifestyle. Our lifestyles with fast food is a real problem for us, and smoking is higher here than in many, many parts of the country. So we have all of the risk factors, and that's what we have to take them on one step at a time.
Yeah, and the employers seem to be more and more engaged to this, and it's in their own best interest, first of all, if they're providing health care insurance, it can keep their health care costs down, but at the same time, it's just the right thing to do.
That's exactly right. We have seen this momentum, and I don't know if you can see my pin because I'm wearing, this is the color of the Heart Walk, the green, and this is called START, because what the Heart Walk is, it's the start of a program, a start of a walk. And we just don't want people to walk that one day. And this is the START program is a corporate program from the American Heart Association. It's free, and a company can go online, become part of this program, and it helps to monitor. It's got all kinds of tools to monitor the employees' walking and exercise and fitness. So we're trying to keep this momentum going more than just this one day.
Now, the program goes beyond businesses, I guess. Churches get involved, civic clubs, any kind of organization.
Any organization can get involved, and we will give the website to go in to sign up. And even families. There are some families of survivors that put together a team every single year and raise it and come down. And then there are families of people who have died from heart disease or stroke, and they walk in honor of someone. I'll bet when we go through there, in fact, I did this once at the Heart Walk where I had everyone stand up, and there was whose lives were affected by heart disease or stroke, and there was almost no one that didn't have this happen, of 10,000 people. That's just a microcosm of our city.
And what about diet as far as taking care of your heart?
Very, very important. You know, as I know you know, calories in and calories out are what we need to be paying attention to. And we are victims of our abundant society when it comes to obesity. We have so much available to us. We eat on the run. It takes 30 minutes from the time you eat for your stomach for your brain to recognize that your stomach is full. So if you're eating on the run, in your car, fast food, watching television, doing something, you're going to consume more calories before you even know it. So I'm a big believer in paying attention not just to exercise, not just to calories, but the combination. If you just restrict calories, you will lose both fat and muscle. If you restrict calories and exercise, then you just lose the fat.
What is your take on the First Lady Michelle Obama's emphasis on obesity, and particularly childhood obesity?
First of all, I think it's very, very important for us to really pay attention, because the studies show that unless we make changes, this generation of children will be the first ones that do not outlive their parents. So this is a huge problem. We find a significant percentage of children already have 1 to 2 risk factors for heart disease by the time they reach the age of 10. And that means high blood pressure, high sugar, sedentary lifestyle. These are the sorts of things, obesity, that children have. So I think we have to, we definitely have to take her lead. The one thing we have to be concerned about is that we don't have an unintended consequence where children are feeling ostracized, those children who are not at a perfect weight. And so I think what we have to do is we have to emphasize the fitness, not necessarily diets for children unless they are really, really significantly obese, because we have to pay attention to the peer pressure and the self-esteem issues that they will face if they are not in the best of shape.
Well, that's a fine line to walk, isn't it?
Oh, it's a very, very difficult line. And what we try to have children do is grow into their weight. That's the key. And one of our dietitians says it best for adults and children. She said, you know, all adults are not, and all children are not made the same way, just like dogs. Some people are bulldogs, and some people are Great Danes. And a bulldog is never going to turn into a Great Dane. But a bulldog can be a fit bulldog.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we have to be emphasizing.
Okay, why don't we get to our first break there. Dr. Ann Bauman is on with us. She's talking about the Heart Walk, which is coming up in Oklahoma City in April. And we have lots of other health issues that we'll be discussing in depth right here on The Verdict.
From the first grade on, I knew I wanted to be an artist. That's all I ever thought about. I approach it much different than the normal weaver in that I look at my warp yarns, which are your base yarns, as a palette. That gives excitement to the cloth because you never know what you're going to get. I'm sure it's something I feel, not something I talk about a lot, the spiritual aspect of it, but it is there, it's below the surface, and it's guiding me. I feel very blessed to be a Chickasaw. I feel like I have just been given this heritage. It gives me a whole reason for doing the beadwork patterns in my weave structures. Seeing the Chickasaw tribe fostering art, using art, and how valuable it is to the tribe is inspirational. And the creative thought, you know, it's in business, it's in economics. It's what gives us meaning, it's what gives us depth, it's what makes us see the beautiful of the world.
What's your idea of security? A good-paying, sustainable job, a solid economy, less dependence on foreign energy? We can achieve it with the help of one industry, American oil and natural gas. It creates energy, jobs, and a strong economic base we can rely on. New technologies open vast reserves that will supply our energy needs far into the future. Because security, by every definition, is worth protecting.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. We're visiting with Dr. Ann Bauman about a variety of health issues, not just women's issues, but a variety of issues.
Yes, and I'd like to ask you, Ann, I know you do more than appear on The Verdict. You see patients daily. And what are you seeing in the experiences of your patients that either are that trouble you or encourage you, or both?
Let me talk about the encouraging first, because I do see people starting to pay more attention. I do. First of all, one of the big changes over the last 10 years is men are coming in for their physical examinations. It used to be they'd come in and say, my wife wanted me to come. And now, well, it's time for my annual exam. So I think we're starting to have people understand the importance of preventive health. One of the things that does disturb me, though, is something I've always said: insight is not enough. People are recognizing the need to know their cholesterol and their blood pressure and their blood sugar, but they're not necessarily making the changes always that we need to have them make. In other words, just knowing you need to exercise does not do one good thing for your heart, right? Just knowing you need to lose weight doesn't do one good thing.
Well, it may hurt it.
It may.
If you worry about it.
That's true. That's exactly right. So what we need to do is translate that worry and that concern into actually making a difference and a lifestyle change. It is very hard to make lifestyle changes, but it's not impossible. Somebody will come in and say they quit smoking. I said, you did? Well, yeah, you told me to. I said, oh, well, thank you very much. Most people don't listen. So I do see people trying, and smoking is the number one way. Everybody, it used to be people came into my office and said, I smoke because I like it, and I don't want to change. Nobody says that anymore. everybody wants to quit smoking. It's just that it's such a difficult habit.
What about the compression of morbidity?
This is a really neat term that we're now using in the American Heart Association, and I love it because it says it so well. Mortality is when you die. Morbidity are the problems you have before death, like someone's had a stroke and they have a weakness, congestive heart failure, high blood pressure, whatever it is. And so what we want is a compression of morbidity. We all have to die, but we want you to live well until that time comes.
Be as healthy as long as you can.
That's exactly right, and healthy and have a good quality of life, because we can keep people alive.
What about people who tend to work to an advanced stage? Is that something that you think is going to prolong a healthy, active mind and life if people stay in the workforce or stay active? And maybe they want to do volunteer work, but nonetheless, they stay active in a professional capacity.
I think it makes a huge difference for people to stay active. I think attitude makes a difference. And in fact, there have been studies that have shown that people who say their ailments, attribute their ailments to old age, die more often than people who say, oh, you know, I pulled a muscle, instead of saying, oh, I'm just getting old. And so it really actually makes a difference in how long you live. And this one gentleman that I just loved was 97 years old, still building his own house, everything but the windows and the roof, he told me, and still building his own house. And then he got an infection, pneumonia, and he died 8 days later, so after he came into the hospital. So he lived well until he died. That's what we all want.
Well, what about the discouraging things that you're seeing, or less than encouraging things?
I think it really is that people struggle. I have watched over the course of the last 20 years the obesity epidemic. I mean, I have seen it in my practice in people who are gaining that, 3 to 5 pounds a year. Well, after 5 years, that's anywhere between 15 and 25 pounds. And I've seen that happen. And it's much easier to gain those 3 to 5 pounds than to lose those 3 to 5 pounds. And so that's the major thing I see, is that we really do have an obesity and overweight epidemic in our country.
Is Oklahoma better or worse, or about average
We're
on the
worse.
obesity problem?
We're worse.
And why?
I think it's because, first of all, fast food. We do a lot of that. In fact, fast food places test their products here because we do so much of it. And we haven't been a city and a community that has a lot of ability to walk, to exercise. I know we're making changes about that. I work with the Community Foundation and walking trails, and that's really what we need to do. We need to not be so dependent on our cars to get every place we go. We need to have the ability to get around walking, and we need to put this in our head that we're going to move more.
Cultural shifts are not easy, but you can kind of sense one here in Oklahoma. But part of the issue here also is education. Isn't there a relationship between the most obese cities or most obese states and the level of education that's been attained by the average citizen?
Yes, that is definitely true. And I applaud all of the things we've been doing with our MAPS programs, all of the programs we're trying to do with the schools, because the more we can educate and the more we can have college graduates here, it will make a difference, because there's just this feeling that we will all move more and we'll pay more attention to that.
What's really happening to smoking? We see suits against tobacco companies and money coming in through settlements and anti-smoking campaigns. Are they really working? And what's happening for those that do quit smoking? What kind of measurable improvement can we see?
I'll tell you, I have such a difficult time when I'm in the mall and I see a group of teenagers smoking, not to walk up to them and say, what are you doing? Stop this. So it doesn't bode well to do that, so I don't. But smoking is such a terrible habit. It's so difficult to break. It is so addictive. I've had people who have had surgery for lung cancer and still can't quit, are in my office crying because they can't quit. And that's what I tell the teenagers. You never know if you're going to be that person who can never quit. We are seeing some decreases in cigarette smoking across the country, and it's interesting, and in Oklahoma too. Small decreases make a big difference in health. The last study with teenagers showed us decreasing smoking a little bit among our teens. There have been some very interesting data coming in from cities that have gone smoke-free, totally smoke-free, and they have found a decrease in admissions to the hospital for heart attacks beginning in the first 6 months and then going on for at least 18 months. And anywhere between 6% to, I think it was 24% decrease in heart attack admissions when the city went smoke-free. That's not all the smokers not having heart attacks. That's the second-hand and even third-hand smoke. People who say, I only smoke outside. and then they come in still on their clothes, especially if they have children. Those children, they're holding them up to them. Their heart rates are faster, their breathing rates are faster, they breathe more in, they toddle on the ground, they're closer to that. So now we're even starting to talk a little bit about third-hand smoke.
What do we attribute the success, if it is inching down, or if teenagers are starting to smoke at a lower level, what are we attributing that to? What makes them smoke to begin with?
Part of it is education. I think that's true. Part of it, as parents quit smoking and don't smoke, children of smokers smoke more. So if your parents don't smoke, you're going to have a less likely chance that you're going to smoke. So that helps too. I think also the cost of cigarettes. I'm in favor of raising the tax more and more and more, and I get lots of calls at Channel 9 when I say that, but I'll tell you, if we know that we can price teenagers out of the cigarette market. We know we can do that. And in this economy, we can price adults out of the cigarette market. Anyone we can keep from having cigarettes is a help to them and to all of us.
How much of an impact is popular culture?
Very big. Very big. In fact, one of my patients is an assistant attorney general who told me many years ago when the tobacco settlement was first being done, he said that the tobacco companies were paying actors up to $400,000, this was 10, 15 years ago, just to hold a cigarette. And so when the teenagers see the MTV programs, when they see their stars always lighting up, that gives permission and a sense that this is the cool thing to do. So I think looking at these public kinds of things is very important as we fight this fight.
I need to ask both of you folks this question. We admit that Oklahoma City, for instance, is a fast food mecca. Why is Oklahoma City more so than some other place?
I think, first of all, because our culture has evolved around the automobile. You know, we tend to not only have one car per person, sometimes it seems like we have at least two cars per person, and so we're always in our cars to begin with. But secondly, that if you look at business models, because land is relatively cheap in Oklahoma compared to the rest of the country, the business model for a fast food restaurant is more likely to work in Oklahoma. So if you're in the middle of a large metropolitan city and land prices are very, very high, you may not be able to put a fast food restaurant. But in Oklahoma, because we've spread out, because we have this urban sprawl, the business model works here, and so that's why you see them
They follow
proliferate.
the theory of build it and the customers will come.
And they do.
That's very, very interesting. And also another aspect of it are the costs of fast food. You know, we are a lower per capita income, and it costs more money to buy fresh fruits and vegetables and the healthier foods. It's one of the things the American Heart Association is looking at to try to figure out how we help this problem so people can get the healthy food, because you can get a lot more for your buck at a fast food restaurant. It's just that it's not the healthier food.
No, you're right. I mean, the low prices at some of those fast food restaurants is just astonishing at what they can deliver a person. And to get fresh fruits and vegetables is more and more difficult. And a lot of challenged neighborhoods, you know, it's just, they just don't have the access. And so that's another one of the things that we're trying to work on. We're out of time. Dr. Bauman, thanks so much for coming on.
My
once
pleasure.
again.
Thank you for having me.
We'll give that website address for more on the Heart Walk when we get back. You're watching The Verdict.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to this final segment of this edition of The Verdict. We've been visiting with Dr. Mary Ann Bauman about a variety of health issues.
Yes, Dr. Bowman's always gracious with her time and gives us great information about things that we ought to be doing. And I hope all of you will participate in the Heart Walk this year. It's a wonderful project and does a lot of good.
She preaches wellness and awareness, and we always appreciate the time that she takes out of her busy schedule to come on our show with us.
Indeed.
We have a website that'll give you more information on the Oklahoma City Heart Walk, which is coming up in April. That web address is okcheartwalk.com, okcheartwalk.com. And of course, we have a website. If you have someone you'd like to see on The Verdict or a topic you'd like to see discussed, we invite you to go to our website at theverdict.tv. That's theverdict.tv. And we have Tom McDaniel coming on our show next week.
Yes, I want to make one correction on the website. Okay. It's .org rather than .com.
You're right.
OKCHeartWalk.org. Yes, Tom McDaniel will be on, the president of Oklahoma City University, and he'll be on the show commemorating our 9th year on the air.
9 years.
9 years.
We're almost bonanza.
And we haven't changed a bit.
Kent and I'll be back next week with that 9th anniversary show. We'll see you then.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.